Hey there, welcome to the table. So it has been a long time since I've recorded an actual board game, and I have very serious audio issues with my software. I think I have it all sorted out, so I apologize if there's still some lingering issues. This video is going to be an introduction to the game Warfighter, the fantasy card game, or Warfighter Plumeria, some people call it. It has been a doozy because the rulebook sucks. And being kind when I say that. It just sucks. But the community has been very helpful. And DVG has been pretty helpful. Like, they haven't, personally contacted me to answer, but, and I do have a few unanswered questions on Board Game Geek that they haven't addressed. I do think they are recognizing the issue. They've admitted there's an issue, and they are correcting it. The community has been awesome. Like, with the exception of one guy who just went nuts on me because I was negative about the game. I mean, the rulebook sucks. There's no getting around it, and in some ways, it deserves to be described exactly that way. It sucks. So, but there's a good game here, and I've played a campaign. I'm actually in the middle of a campaign with my buddy, but this is the kind of game where we can actually, as long as I don't use the same characters that I'm using with my buddy, I should be able to play this just fine. So I want to introduce you to this game. There is not a good playthrough of this game out there. There's some videos that have small snippets of pieces here and pieces there, but let's do a campaign of Warfighter Fantasy. So what do you need to do? Well, first of all, components. The one thing the rulebook does do very well is it explains what each of the components do. And so, just separate them in likeness. And if you're new to my channel, the way this works is this first video is going to be an introduction to the game. Video 2 is going to be the actual playthrough. And so there will not be any actual play in this video. I'm just introducing everybody to it. This is how we always go. Part 1, intro, and maybe some setup instructions. And then part 2, we get into the actual gameplay. Okay, so keep that in mind and jump to the next video if that's what you're looking for. Otherwise, what is Warfighter Fantasy? I think for some people, they may not even be familiar that there's a Warfighter franchise. So Warfighter is a game that was originally made by DVG. The original one is what we refer to as Warfighter Modern, because the warfare was modern. You were basically special, elite task force that would go into the jungles of South America and fight against drug lords, and there would be, so you start at some place on the left and you advance through various locations until you get to your objective, which is over on the right, and you encounter enemies along the way. You encounter challenges, and you have to use your forces. And you get to recruit what kind of forces you start with, and you do that, and then you eventually either fail your mission or win the day. And it is a card game. There's action cards that you draw and use while playing it, and this particular version, since then they've come out with a Warfighter World War II. They're coming out with a Warfighter Vietnam, into the different genres. This one is Warfighter Fantasy, which is dungeon romping. So instead of, attacking drug lords, we're, starting out at a town and we're going on an adventure, and we're eventually going to defeat, a boss, which is at an objective. And so that's what we're doing here. How do you do that? Well, you start off with, a band of adventurers and you go for there. So that you need to, basically sort everything in likeness. The cards you want to sort by, the mundane gear, the weapons, make sure those are all separate. And then the hostiles, you're going to want sorted by the type. So see how that says renowned hostiles, and then this is a nuisance hostile. Just keep, stacks of each, and then keep stacks of the locations. And it doesn't matter that this says Worm's Lair at the bottom. That's an expansion pack, but it's just as good of a location as any of the other ones. It just happens to be, you could play a Worm's Lair mission, which is just Worm's Lair components, and it just helps you to separate that out. But it's optional for you, but I just mix it in and treat it just like any other regular location. So once you do all that, the way you start this game is there's two ways to play. You can choose an adventure, like this one, and you'll see here that the adventure says that there's 52 resources. So then you're going to spend those 52 resource points to gather a party, and I'll show you what that means in a second. And those 52 resource points are all you have to go off and do this adventure. Now, the adventure has, there's 4 little different difficulty levels. Actually 5, I take that back, there's 5. So this one is considered a common adventure. And the best way to represent that is, let me show you this campaign board here. And 1 second, I'm gonna go change the lighting. I know that probably didn't help much, but it did for me. Okay, so here along the top, I'm gonna go ahead and clear these off real quick. So this is considered a campaign board. And you can see there's nuisance adventures, common adventures, renowned adventures, legendary, and mythical. So there's 5 types in the game. And you can just pick any one of them. And then you read the card, like I said, and then the points that's written on the card is what you use to start your mission. And it's just going to be a single, mission. You get in, go until you get to your objective, and then you either defeat the objective or you don't. Or you can play a campaign, which is, to me, the fun way to play. And the campaign is written right up here. 50 RP is what you start. And then this is the campaign. You're going to shuffle 2 nuisance cards, 3 commons, 2 renowned, 1 legendary, and 1 mythical. And what you do is you basically make what's called a town deck. And so how does that work? Well, there's towns in the game, like this one, right? So see how that's a common town. So you're going to just sort all your cards and make sure you have your common towns and your other towns, together. And you literally just pick, my apologies, trying to grab the board here. You're going to pick 2 nuisance. I think there's like 4 if you have the expansion packs, maybe 4 or 5. You're going to pick 3 commons, again, probably 4 or 5. 2 renowned, I think there's only 3 in the game. And then 1 legendary, I think there's only 2. And then there's only 1 mythical in the game. So there's always the same mythical at the end. And so the way the campaign works is you're going to do these missions, and each mission is going to take hours to complete. So this is not a single night kind of campaign. It's going to take you multiple nights. A buddy of mine and I are able to do 2 missions a night. We play for about 3 hours, so it's about an hour and a half a mission. And that's with us knowing what we're doing. If we're still learning the rules, it could take a little bit longer. So so you start the game with 50 RP. And my apologies, I still have my campaign I'm doing with my buddy out here. And I need to just take a picture of this before I start doing it for the recording. So what do you do after that? Well, you have to go through what's known as the hero deck. So you have these heroes here. So Merrick, the Dwarven fighter, and he costs 10 points to purchase. And this is a level 1. And then you can see there's 2, 3, 4, 5. Everybody has 6 levels to them. So this hero is this group of 6 cards. This constitutes Merrick, the adventure. So you would always just keep all 6 cards together. And then he's like I said, he's a dwarven fighter. And then you have this guy here who's a human cleric, Aaron. So, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 levels. They always stay together. That constitutes him. And he also costs 10 points. Now this 2 is how much it costs to level up to the next level. So if you want to go to level 2, you would have to spend 2 more points. And if you add it all together, you could see 10, 12. So you could either just look at this and spend 12, or you can spend 10 and then later on spend 2. And that could be in between missions, and that's how you level up. One thing that is confusing in this game is you do earn experience points, but experience points don't level up your hero. RP points does, or hero points. And at the end of the day, it's actually gold. So it's a really weird exchange system in this game, but I don't want to overwhelm you with all the details, but basically the big thing to understand is it costs you 10 RPs. Remember, we start the game with 50, so this is 1/5 of the overall RPs to hire Aaron, the human cleric. And then this is another 1/5 to get Merrick, okay? So that's at level 1. If I want to spend 12 points, I can start off at level 2. Heck, if I want to start them off at level 6, I can, but I'm spending 30 of my 50 points to do that. I hope that makes sense. Okay, there's a lot of information on these cards, and it can be overwhelming to go through all that. And I'll try my best to, at least at a high level, explain it. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to draft a party, and I'll go through like why I'm drafting the person and, what the details are and why it makes sense for me. I didn't want to overwhelm you, though, at this point with those details, because I could spend like an hour going through, down this rabbit hole. I want to go over the high level first. So let's say I do get these 2 heroes. So I have a fighter and a cleric in my party. Now there's also a thief, and you can see this one costs 9. So we can say, okay, we want this thief in our party. So now we're at 10, 29 points. And then here's another thief, which we're going to skip. And there's a wizard, right? So now we got a complete party of... We have fighters, clerics, wizards, and thief. There's basically, there's 6 classes in the game. These are your 4 basic classes that come with the base game. If you have the expansion, you will also have a paladin or a battle mage. Those are the 2 additional classes. A paladin, of course, is a hybrid between a fighter and a cleric, and a battle mage is a hybrid between a fighter and a wizard. Okay. So let's dive in. So let's say we did this. This is not the party, by the way, that I'm going to play the game. I want to spend a little bit more time looking at the stats and figuring things out. There's also different types of characters. All 4 of these are what we would call a player character. A player character draws action cards and uses a hand of action cards to manage, their turn. If you're playing Warfighter solitaire or with your buddies, every human person at the table needs to have a player character, at least one. So I could choose to have 4 player characters in my solitaire game, so then I'm managing 4 hands of cards. So managing 4 hands of cards could be considered cumbersome. It could be, it's just too much to manage. I mean, just think like Gloomhaven or Frosthaven, right? Handling 4 different characters can get a little overwhelming. So the game has this concept called, they have these other types of heroes that come along, and they have, so for example, there's TH here. So what this hero does not use action cards. So you don't use any action cards for her, but everything else is just like a regular player hero. So you would still have to equip her with weapons. She comes with 1 divine power, so you're going to have to find a spell for her. And you're going to have to do all those things. You just don't have to manage a deck of cards. So that's what TH is. And then there's NPH. So you have this guy here, and what he is he's a complete package. So at level 1, he has 2 health, and basically he's going to do 1 action each turn, or 2 actions if he has 2 health, 1 action if he has 1 health, and then he comes with predetermined spells and skills, and basically when it's his turn, you don't have to equip him with anything. He comes pre-equipped with all of his gear, and he's ready for an adventure right out of the box. Okay, so you're going to spend your 10 points there, and he would also not have cards. So that's an NPH. Then there's another one called an SH, and they're very subtle, the differences, but like here's another one. And so he comes with gear. Actually, yeah, I take it back. The TH, you still buy gear for them. You'll still buy gear for them, but these SHs are the full package. So they come with predefined actions and predefined gear. So this guy comes with a skill and an old leather armor, for example. So I know it's confusing. The rulebook actually does a good job explaining what the differences are between these. And I know I opened up with the rulebook stinks. These are the areas where the rulebook is actually good. So I don't want to belabor this because I really think people understand this. And most of the people who are desperate to learn how to play this game, this is not the area that they're struggling. So I'm not going to try to belabor this, but we will go through the process of making our own party. And we'll try to have, different types. So you'll see how they work. But here's the bigger thing to understand, though. It's, like there's some characters, like I said, when you pay for them, they come equipped with all their equipment and skills. These guys have no equipment. So then you have to go and you have to purchase weapons. So, for example, we have these weapon cards. And, you may have to buy like a short sword. Or otherwise, your guy is basically trying to attack unarmed. So that short sword is going to cost 1 gold, which is 1 RP in this game. So remember, you start with 50. So there's 1 of your 50 points. And in the silver, there's 2. So there's an exchange system written here. I know there's a glare. I apologize. But right here is the exchange system. So basically, 1 gold is 2 silver, which is 4 copper. And then it's also saying the hero point and 1 gold to heal wounds. So wounds are very deadly, or very expensive to heal. You don't want to be spending gold to heal your wounds. Okay. So you have to buy equipment, and then that's not all. There's also gear, right? So you have like this, that costs 1 gold to purchase. So that's another 1 of your 50 points. I'm not saying you have to buy that particular gear. I'm just saying if you wanted to. Then there's skills. So like this fighter here has archery speed, which costs 4 points. So that's 4 of your 50 points. Just to have this skill that lets you do an extra attack action each turn. That's actually a really good skill. And so you can see here, this is my buddy's fighter. He decided to build an archer type character. I will tell you that we think that this guy stinks, and that the DVG didn't do a good job building archers in this game. Like this archer, he does okay, but we actually think he's the weakest character in our party, and we would probably never use him again. And we're trying to get him as many skills as we can, and I know there's a glare here. I apologize. We're trying to get him as many skills as we can, and he's using this medium crossbow, and he's really just not all that. If anything, we throw him into a room to make him absorb damage because he's just worthless. And so he has 4 health, and so he can absorb 3 hits before, and then he has a toughness, which lets him absorb another hit, and then we just have our cleric heal him up, and then everybody else comes in and does all the damage. So that's sort of how we play. And yeah, he does kill people with his archery skill. But yeah, we're not real impressed with him. But it was, DVG does have the option. You can build an archer type character, and there's archery skills that you can pick up. So you can see there's archery speed, and there's even more archery stuff we can get. He also has this wizard over here. And again, I apologize for the glare. I usually don't sit on this side of the table. I will fix the glare before the next video. So so here you can see he has fire hands and ice hands. So these are the two spells he's equipped with. And he's got like this skill called casting speed. But see, look, that costs 4 points. This costs 1 point. So that number in the shield is how much it costs. This is 2 more. So that's 4, 5, that's 7 points. So if you figure you build this party, 10, 20, 39, and then that's 7 points just for the wizard, you're already at 46 points. You only have 4 points left to equip the other 3 characters. So that's your dilemma. You're really not going to be able to do everything. And so one of the things I can assure you, we did not have this skill when we started our campaign. This is too expensive. We did take the fire hands and the ice hands. So we had those two with our wizard. And then the particular wizard he uses is this guy, Gwadi. And so right now you can see he's actually at level 5. And when he started the game, he cost us 9 points to start. And so that's what you got to do. You got to go through, pick your 4 heroes, pick your equipment, and then pick your skills. And all that has to add up to be 50 or less. And whatever points you have left over, like we said, every 1 point that's left over is a gold. Or a half gold, which is a silver, or a quarter gold, which is a copper. And that's basically it. You make your party, you equip them with all the gear, and you only have 50 points to do it. 50 points is not a lot of points, folks. I know I've said this before, I'm just reiterating it. And you're going to have your eye on a lot of skills and a lot of gear, and you're going to say, oh, I want that. Oh, I want that. You're just going to start the game without it, though. But here's the good news. The good news is as you go through the adventure, so we are in the, we finished all the nuisance ones, and now we're in the common. This is actually our 3rd common adventure in our campaign that we're doing. And so for the common adventure, if we complete it, we're actually going to get 5 points or 5 gold. That's the equivalent of 5 gold because it's 5 RP or here. The DVG does something very confusing. These are called hero points, but hero points, 1 hero point equals 1 R point, RP, which I think is resource point. And every hero point and resource point is a gold. So they're all interchangeable. And I know it's confusing, but that's part of the reason why we're getting into why the rulebook stinks. But the whole community agrees that these are interchangeable, and we've been playing it this way, and it works. It works pretty well. Now, like I said, you start off with 50, which isn't much, so you're going to barely have a dagger in your hand, and maybe your mage only has 1 spell. Your thief is lucky to have some luck picks. That's what you're going to basically do. And but you are going to earn some money as you go. And like I said, you're going to get 5 gold just for completing this mission, which, by the way, is not a lot. But the 5 gold is at least helpful. And, for 4 of that gold, casting speed. And yeah, you might be thinking, holy crap, you just did a whole entire mission, and it cost you 80% of the rewards for that mission just to buy 1 skill for your wizard. And the answer is yes. It is. The economy is that tight in this game. It's a little crazy, actually. But this isn't the only way you earn money. You earn money from killing each individual monster. So, for example, these giant ants here are a nuisance. That's what the N stands for. So these are the easiest monsters in the game. And here's the reward table. And here you can see you're going to win 2 silver for killing these guys. 2 silver is 1 gold. So yes, you're going to earn 20% of the reward for the entire campaign just by killing this 1 creature. So yeah, I'm not saying the economy's balanced. It's just the way it is. I mean, this particular monster is giving you 20% of what you're going to get from an entire campaign. No, it doesn't make any sense. But the one thing I will tell you is that, I don't know, I mean, because they play tested it or whatever, it just comes out okay. Like, you start off with not enough points, but you keep getting points and you keep, I mean, we always want to spend them. I mean, even now, if you gave us 20 gold, we'd have it spent in 10 seconds. We all have skills we still want. We all have gear we still want. But the point is that you will accumulate money along the way, and those money turn into points that you can spend on gear, on skills, leveling up your hero. So, for example, that same wizard that my buddy has, here you can see he's level 5. He's got one more level to go. He can go to level 6. He needs to spend 6 gold to do that. So if we defeat this mission that's in front of us, we're only going to get 5 gold. And so that's not even going to be enough for him to make it to the next level. But it'll be most of the way, if that's what our goal really is to level him up. But there you go. We would do an entire adventure to level up one of our 5 guys in our party. And yes, we have 5 characters in this particular party. So I hope it's making sense, at least at a high level. The economy in this game is tight. The 50 points is going to feel like not enough at all. But I will assure you that the nuisance missions, which are the early ones that you do, they're not super challenging. I mean, you are going to be challenged, and there's going to be players that will tell you that they got their butts kicked. It's because you're learning the rules or whatever. But if you understand the rules, the basic concepts, and you do what I'm going to show you, those nuisance campaigns should not be too bad. The tougher choice is going to be how many player characters do you want to have, which draws and uses a hand of cards, versus how many of these other types of heroes do you want. And it's a real big trade-off because those cards are powerful. And many people will tell you, if you go into forums, you talk to anybody in the strategies about this game, is that if you want to be the most powerful playthrough, in your playthrough, you're going to want to pick 4 or you want all of your characters to be player characters that draw a hand of cards. So that's what you want if you want the most powerful of everything, because those cards are so powerful sometimes they compensate for gear. Like there's cards that straight up just say, if you're going to take damage, play this card to negate the damage. Well, that's just as good as having some armor. That armor might cost us 3 gold or 3 RP points, right? I can't afford 3 RP points for armor, but you know what? I got a card, so I might draw some armor cards and I'm good enough. Example. Another thing is you have to move from location to location. And the movement points of your hero is listed right here. So this guy can move 1 point for free. To move into this room right here, it costs 2 points. So the way this guy has 1 of the 2 points automatically. So he's going to have a hand of cards. He has to discard a card. He doesn't do what it says. It's just a discard. So he discards 1 card from his hand, and then this movement plus that 1 card he discarded equals 2, and now he's satisfied enough movement points to move into that room. Well, you get these other guys who have no action cards. They have 0 movement points. So how does she move? Somebody else has to discard 2 cards for her to move into that room. And there's no other way of getting around it. So if you're playing a solitaire game and you have a party of 4 characters like this, and only one of them has a deck of cards and the other 3 do not, you're literally going to be using your single hand of cards to move everybody else into these rooms. And let's say that move cost was 2. You can see here, he's got 0 movement points, 0 movement points. He has 1, and he has 0. So you're going to spend 2, 4, 6 cards just to move all 3 of those characters into the room. You need a 7th card to move that one. Now, granted, one of these should be your character, but that's still, you got to move yourself too. So all of this is to say is that a lot of people will recommend that if you're going to build a party, you're probably going to want more than 1 character to have hand management. So even though DBG gives you some really cool, pre-built characters, this guy comes with his own armor and everything, the cards are really powerful, and your game's gonna be more challenging if you only choose one character to have a deck of cards and everybody else does not. That's really my best advice to you there. The other thing about this is, so for example, there was a paladin in here, I believe. So here you got Sir Faulkner, right? The paladin. So this is I just went through the pros of having a deck of cards. And of course the cons of choosing a guy like this is, with his 0 movement, is you're going to have to spend cards all the time to move him along. However, there's a pro to having a guy like this. So this guy comes with his own leather armor and his own skill, Humble, which Humble is actually not a good skill in this case, but he still does it. He also has a heal spell and an intervention spell. So he has 2 spells that he comes with. He comes with a skill and an armor. Okay, all of that comes for free, and he costs 11 points to obtain. Well, this guy here costs 10, and he has no gear at all. You still got to pay for his spell, you got to pay for his mace, you got to pay for his armor. I mean, he's going to cost way more than 10 by the time you're done with him. This one was 11, and you get all of that. So that's the advantage to these guys. So even though you're going to have to deal with your hand management and move them around, the fact that he comes with all this gear makes him cheaper. Like, he's economically more efficient, at least in the beginning of the game. You know, from a hand management perspective, he's not efficient, but from a gold and RP perspective, he's very efficient. And then just something to understand is that as he levels up, that old leather armor turns into regular leather armor. So as soon as the keyword changes, you get to throw away his old one and he gets the new one, and it's all free. So whatever, right now and then he has a studded armor. And then eventually he's going to get chainmail and then scale at level 6. And then you can see, like, he actually gained new spells too. So right here he had 2 spells, Blood Heal and Intervention. And then he eventually gets Blood Insight. And then he's got Toughness of 3. We haven't even talked about, like, all these skills and what those keywords mean. But, like, DVG does a really good job. I mean, this guy is actually powerful. He will be strong for you throughout the game. And the fact that he just gets free armor along the way is fantastic. Now, he is expensive, right? It costs him 4 gold to go up to level 2, 6 gold to go to level 3. So you're going to be spending a lot of points to level this guy up. And in some ways, you could argue that, if you look up the cost of a leather armor, it's going to be around 4 gold. It's probably going to be 3 or 2 gold. So you're spending more than that just to level this guy up. Now, when you do level him up, he does get other stuff, along with it, but you get the point. Sometimes you're paying for it one way or the other. Now, this guy, like I said, we would have to level him up ourselves. He only costs 2 gold to level up. So you see the difference? The other guy costs double that to go to level 2. So you can get this guy leveled up a little quicker, but he gets expensive too. He's 4. So he's a little pricey as well. And anyways, I know I'm probably repeating myself a lot, but there's quite a lot of trade-offs. And analysis paralysis is a very real thing when you're creating your party. And I don't have a formula for you on what is the perfect party yet. I mean, I will tell you that you want at least 4 characters, one of each type. That much I can just be very confident in. Now, I have toyed with the idea that I only need 2. I don't think I need a fighter. I think I can get away with a wizard and a thief, and that's it. You don't need a cleric, you don't need a fighter. Although cleric would be very, very handy. So because you are going to take wounds, and you need somebody to help you with wounds, and the cleric is going to do it. Otherwise, you have to spend a gold in between missions, and that's expensive. The fighter is the one class that you don't need, because he doesn't do anything other than he absorbs hits. And that's where the fighter, of course, is the fighter. I mean, you might be saying, oh, well, duh. And it's true. I mean, I'm not trying to, like, I'm not trying to say something super profound here. But if you had to chintz on somebody, because your economy is, I only got 50 points to spend, the wizard is your star MVP. The thief needs to be just good enough to pick locks. That's all you need. You need him for his lock picking. The thief is the perfect kind of character that if you're going to pick a character that doesn't have a card management, I would choose maybe a thief. Although there's some pretty cool daggers and stuff you can get with one. They can actually be pretty good, the thieves, at what they do. Well, they're fun. Let's just put it that way. There's some fun cards for thieves in this game. Because, you can go into stealth and there's all kinds of cool things there. The cleric is an interesting one. Jury is out on this one. You must have one. Yes, I'm not saying the jury's out on, but what I'm thinking though is that the non-card cleric, like the one that's, where the spells and everything come for free, has been very good. I've been very happy with, I got a cleric over there, Rika is her name, and she's been fantastic. And she heals our party just fine, and I don't need her to do a lot. I just need her to be able to heal and every now and then kill a monster so she gets some divinity points back. So I would say you don't need a fighter at all. And then the cleric, you can go cheap and take one of the cleric in a boxes, right? That's my slang for, DVG already has everything figured out for you. So a cleric in a box, and then you don't need a fighter at all. So then you spend your 50 points on these two characters, and then whatever it takes to get your cleric, which is going to be around 10 points, maybe 11. And so you're going to have like 39 to 40 points left to build up these two characters. And then this one, you can always get them later. So you finish your first campaign without a fighter, and then you pick up a fighter after that. Like, you can do that. It's going to cost you 10 points, but you're only going to get like 3 or 4 for completing the mission. So you're going to have to like save up your money or something, but it's doable. I would recommend that you try to have a fighter. But like I said, this is what we're toying with. But I wouldn't like level him up. I'd even be okay with him being unarmed. Like, don't bother buying him weapons or skills, because like the point of him is to absorb hits. So let him absorb hits. The fighter is not the one killing the monsters. The wizard is. And that's the thing that the wizard and the thief are the two that are killing all the monsters in the game. We get the cleric to kill a few because you gain divinity points if you're Odin. And then the fighter, if he can kill 1 or 2, it's like the Special Olympics. We clap for him, but he doesn't really, he's proud of himself, but he really didn't do much for the party. The one thing he does do is he absorbs hits, and that's okay. So in the next video, I will be creating a party. I'll go through the step-by-step to do that. So some of you might be thinking, oh, well, you said you were going to start playing. Well, that is playing to me. Designing your party is part of the gameplay. So we'll get the party designed. We'll get the first mission in place, and we'll do all that in the next video. I also, like I said, I haven't recorded a game in a long time, and I'm concerned about my audio. I want to make sure there's no audio issues with this video that we just recorded here. And of course, if there were any audio issues with this particular video, I'm okay with losing this because we didn't cover anything super important other than just a basic overview of the game. So we'll get the party designed, we'll get the campaign going, and we'll hopefully even be able to start playing in the next video. There's a lot to this, a lot to the design. I'm currently in the middle of a campaign, so I need to figure out how to save this so I don't lose this for my friend. But beyond that, yeah, I think we're good. And hopefully this will be a solid playthrough for those of you who are trying to learn the game. Feel free to ask questions in the comments. I'll be happy to try to answer as many as I can. And then I think once we get into actually designing our party and playing the game, things will start to make sense. I will explain the keywords and I will explain how to read these cards as we go. I don't want to go through all of them now. It's a bit too much. There's a lot of elements to this game that were ambiguous, meaning we were guessing that this is the right way to play this game. And it makes making a video like this dangerous because I'm going to tell you the rules to this game to the best of my ability. But, it's not like you can say, well, on page 16 of the rules, it says this. There's going to be stuff we're going to talk about that's not written in the rules at all. And you're going to say, well, how do you know that? And I'm going to tell you, because I said so. and it's, and it isn't because I said so. It's because the community said so. We basically, the community has gotten together and decided that these are a set of rules. So there's these rules called NAM rules. And they're in Board Game Geek. It's called NAM. And download a copy, read it. It'll help. It takes the rule book that DVG made and organizes it a little bit better. But I will tell you that the NAM rules are still missing a ton of information. And now, some of you might be like, well, what do you mean? The NAM rules are perfect. No, they're not. So I have this keyword called explosion. The NAM rules don't explain how this works at all. They don't. I mean, it explains that you're going to roll 4 dice, which any monkey can figure that part out. But 4 dice against what? Can I hit the same target 4 times? Can I hit 2 different targets? 3 different targets? 4 different targets? How does this work? Do I have to declare my targets before I roll? None of that is explained. So we're going to be able to cover that because I've spent a lot of time talking to people and figuring that rule out. The next one that is not covered by the NAM rules is, this guy says mana +1. The NAM rules don't even mention this skill. The regular rule book doesn't either. It's like, this is like written on all the cards, but nobody on the planet Earth has addressed this. So I did talk to Kevin, Kevin from DVG, and I did clarify what this means. And we'll talk about that. And by the way, it's super powerful, this mana +1. And I think that is the highest he goes. Yeah, mana +1 is the highest he goes. So mana +1 is awesome. But, that's not described anywhere. And so we got to, we're going to cover stuff like that and help you to enjoy this game. Because let me be clear again. I know I've said this before, but rulebook stinks. But there's a good game here. And what's the purpose of my channel? My channel is, this is the Jeff channel. I record myself smoking pork shoulders. I record myself on a motorcycle. I record myself playing Baldur's Gate. I mean, we do whatever I decide to do because it's my channel. But if there was any mission that I had with board games, it's I cover board games that nobody else covers, and DVG is going to be one of them. You're never going to see One Stop Co-op Shop cover these games, at least not well. And the second one is this game is a good game. It's just marred by a bad rule book. And so I really believe it deserves a good video. So I hope I can provide that for you. Another mental note is I'm noticing a lot of glare. I'm aware of that. I usually sit over there in that seat, and I'm actually on the other side of the table. So once I get to the other side of the table, most of that glare issue is going to go away because I'll be looking at it from a different angle. So I will take care of that. We zoom in, zoom out. So we're good there as far as like being able to read the cards and things like that nature. What else? What else do we need to talk about? I think that more or less covers it. Again, pretty good game. It's overwhelming. And you can go into the forums of various places, Facebook, BGG. You'll see a lot of people talk about how they read the rules and they're still afraid to start. So my goal here is to get you started. And we'll do that. Starting in the next video, my biggest challenge right now is I got a campaign playthrough that I need to save before I start touching all the components. And once I get that going, we'll start the next video and we'll rock and roll. And we'll pick our party for real. And actually, some of these characters do look pretty good. But we'll go ahead and pick our party for real and rock and roll. Also, one more thing. I highly advise that you don't play a paladin or a battle mage if it's your first time. Those are complicated, advanced character classes, and I would just suggest that, why complicate your life more than you need to. So, okay, with that being said, as always, if you're used to the Jeff channel, I never give you high professional videos. This is just Jeff sitting at a table chatting with you. If you are new, I apologize if it doesn't seem very polished, but I guarantee you I'm going to give you a solid playthrough, a solid strategy for how to play this game, and you will know how to play your game by the time you get through this. So as always, thanks for watching, and I never ask for a like or subscribe, but they do help, and as always, stay awesome.